recording. We are now in recording mode. And allow me to introduce our special guest, Joyce Murray, Minister of Digital Government for Canada. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated digital service delivery in all sectors in ways we couldn't have imagined just a few months ago. This accelerated digital transformation has reinforced the need for government to provide secure, reliable, and easy-to-use digital services for its citizens. That would be us. Minister Murray will talk to us about the federal response to COVID-19 and her role to transform the federal government's crisis-driven digital response to better serve Canadians and ensure the federal government is working towards digital solutions and services that Canadians will trust and use. So, without any further ado, I will turn it over to Minister Murray. Minister Murray, you are most welcome. And I'll just pull the deck down and we'll be ready to listen to what you have to say.
Well, great. So John, can you hear me okay?
I certainly can.
Okay, good. I'm here in the on the traditional territory of the Musqueam First Nation in Vancouver. And it is really great to hear those introductions and to get a sense for the enthusiasm for your concept of tech for good, which I love. And I do want to congratulate you, Skydra, Sarah, Laura, and the other members of the Civic Tech Toronto Organizing Committee. So it's really great to see everyone. And this is a perfect example of how we now rely on digital technology to work, to stay in touch, to get to know new people during this global pandemic. Now, I have the privilege as a not very digital, like Alex disclosed, Canada's first Minister of Digital Government. And so I lead the government's digital transformation effort to improve our services to Canadians. And I work with teams at the Office of the Chief Information Officer and the Canadian Digital Service, and with Shared Services Canada, which is the IT provider for the Government of Canada. And together we provide the policy guidance, the tools, the hands-on support to departments and public servants that are needed to deliver day-to-day services to Canadians, as well as the many new measures that we developed over the past months to respond to the needs of Canadians due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I was struck by by the description of your civic tech Hacknights, and I really appreciate how you're bringing together designers, librarians, coders, urban planners, government staff, so many different directions, because that mix is what I'm sure is going to be creating innovative ideas and just an enriched environment for discussion. But you do share a theme in equitable development in Toronto and making the city more responsive, prosperous, sustainable, as well as inclusive. And that kind of outcome really inspires me for our country, and it's what I've been working hard to do in the federal government and previously in opposition. So 12 years as an elected member of parliament. So now in this new role, I'm working collaboratively with other jurisdictions and sectors to change the way our government designs and delivers services right across Canada. And firstly, I do want to make sure to mention that Canadians' privacy, security, choice, and trust in government are absolutely the foundation of our approach. We're very committed to developing accessible and reliable services for Canadians and developing them with them, not just for them. So helping build and update digital government services with digital principles, but also the social justice principles that have been mentioned by your members at the core. what we realize from the pandemic is that it's more important than ever that we don't leave some Canadians behind. And that tends to happen in our society. And frankly, it is the most vulnerable who lose out when government's help is complicated, cumbersome, frustrating to access. So it's the most vulnerable who will gain the most when money and services are easier and quicker to access. And it's my job to help have that happen. So I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask for your active interest in our new national exposure notification app called COVID Alert. You may have heard about that when the Prime Minister talked about it a few weeks ago. We're very close to launching, and at which time it will become available in the Apple App Store and Google Play. And just a bit about this, it's a mobile app that will let users know if they may have been exposed to COVID-19. And this is right across the country, a national app. Firstly, it will be being implemented in Ontario, and Ontario will distribute the one-time keys to people who test positive for the virus. When the key is entered into the app, COVID Alert notifies all the other app users who may have come in close contact with that person within the previous 2 weeks. So this is, of course, a voluntary app, but the more people who use it, the more useful it will be to protect people in their contacts and help slow the spread of infection as we reopen the economy. So watch for it, COVID Alert, and that should be announced pretty soon. So this is just one of the many pandemic-related services that we've developed based on digital technology. And I do want to acknowledge the Canadian Digital Service for the really round-the-clock work to do the beta testing, to fix the bugs and do more rounds, and very quickly get an important tool out to the public, which, as I said, will be soon. So when the pandemic first hit, digital government acted quickly to make sure that public servants could serve Canadians while working from home. So think about the fact that there was maybe tens of thousands of public servants who worked from home offices, and we had to go almost overnight to hundreds of thousands. They needed the equipment, the collaborative tools, the security, all of those things to be able to serve Canadians. And that helped us really roll out quickly things like the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, the student benefit, the wage subsidy, and so on, so that Canadians could pay their bills or keep their businesses afloat.
It's not like it's
Government had some key roles on this, and one of them was to create a series of online tools to help people quickly and easily find relevant information. The fact is that during this crisis, Canadians have turned to us to deliver these kinds of crucial supports. And it's now my job to convert what we've learned in our crisis-driven digital response into a permanent shift in accelerating the speed with which we can serve Canadians. So, but one thing I want to talk about is how digital technology can be an enabler for vulnerable groups in our society, and how important it is to ensure that our programs and services are inclusive by design and serve everyone, including Canadians with disabilities. So that's a big priority for me. And COVID's a terrible crisis, but it's also an opportunity for all of us to become better at what we do and what we do for others. So my beat is accelerating our transformation to the use of digital technology and all the benefits that entail for Canadians, for their trust in government, and ultimately for the resilience of our democracy. So I want to end by thanking you for what each of you is doing to improve the lives of the people around you and in your communities. And happy to be here and share some thoughts and also answer your questions. So thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister Murray. I appreciate that very much. It was great to hear from you. I'm glad to hear. I understand you're interested in taking a few questions. So if people can drop a Q in the chat as before, I'll call upon people as they as they okay. So we've got our first cues. Can Kejo please ask a question?
Hello, Minister Murray. Thank you for that presentation. I was just curious to know, in addition to like the emergency responses that are clearly a focus, and now that we understand where some of the focus needs to be, are there any other social justice principles that are high on your list to tackle as well through the digital department?
Yes, absolutely. We are very focused on gender equality. Our Shared Services Canada, which is a department with about 7,500 people, has a deputy minister who's a woman, and she is a champion for bringing women into technology and tech jobs. And I mentioned disability. So this is, we as a government passed a historic access for people with disabilities bill, which means that everything the federal government does must be accessible to those who are disabled by default. And so we're thinking about those kinds of principles as in everything we do. We also are very concerned about the